Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
Let me tell you, the dopamine, it's flowing.
I am damn excited. Damn excited.
We are so excited to be joining you guys tonight.
Oh! Well, how you doing, man? Patrick.
Will, Sterling.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champion, two-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Oh, he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score!
And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.
Welcome to Wacky Wednesday on the Arrowhead Addict channel. I'm the blogfather, Adam Best. As always, I'm joined by the golden voice of Sterling Holmes. Sterling, I've got to say, it is really weird to be with you early in a new year and the Chiefs are eliminated. What the hell is this reality? I don't like it.
This sucks.
It really does.
Yeah, it's no fun, man. It's nice to an extent when you watch the slate of football games and you don't stress. It's been lovely watching every single playoff game outside of the Steelers game. And even that was just fun watching the Texans defense just fly around and look like not quite the 85 Bears, but like the 2000s Ravens. I mean, that was phenomenal. So part of me is like, okay, I can watch playoff football. I can watch the Super Bowl and I'm not going to have a minor heart attack. But then the majority of me is sitting back saying this bleeping blows. I don't want many of these. I want this to be the only in the Patrick Mahomes era, the only season where they're not making a deep playoff run or at a minimum missing the playoffs. So yeah, that's where it at. I'm trying to be glass half full sometimes.
It's really all you can do. And while I think the Chiefs are burned out and it's nice for them to have a break, and it's a little bit nice for us not to have to go all the way to Valentine's Day covering the regular season and doing post games and all that. I miss doing the post game. I miss having the Chiefs in the middle of things, really being the center of attention. And I'm like, man, this is how the other 31 live, you know? So it really makes you more appreciative of what we've been given, what we've been able to experience during the Mahomes era. It's been really special. But honestly, I'm having a hard time getting invested in these games as just kind of I'm very neutral outside of like, I don't want the Chargers are gone. So that's good. The Eagles are gone. Thank God. Having them repeat would be unbearable. And now outside of the Patriots winning, which I find their fan base intolerable, so I don't want them to win, or Denver, which we cannot have. We cannot have the Denver Broncos win first and foremost. I don't really care. Like Josh Allen gets a Super Bowl or Seattle wins or McVay gets another one. I don't really care. I just want to, if we're playing Madden right now, I just want to skip to free agency. I want to sim this bitch and get to signing players and get to drafting. That is where my head's at.
Yeah, as long as it's not Denver or New England, I'm cool. I'm honestly probably rooting for the Bills. I know a lot of fans, or at least a subsect of fans in Chiefs Kingdom will say blasphemy. And I just sit back and go, I root for them because it's almost like rooting for your little brother. Like no one else can make fun of the Bills. Only the Chiefs can make fun of the Bills. Because the Bills have probably been the second best team in the AFC during this Chiefs dynasty. Yeah, the Bengals made it to a Super Bowl, but they also missed the playoffs more than they make it under Joe Burrow. Lamar, they've done nothing in the playoffs. Josh Allen's been really good in the playoffs. It's just that big bro, Patrick, beats up on him. That's what ends up happening. Hey, you're close, but you're not close enough. That's what it really comes down to. So for me, I almost view the Bills as like little bro. And if the big bro is going to be out with an ACL injury, then let's let little bro get one. This might be his time. Maybe it's Talladega Nights with shake and bake, right? Sometimes, well, when's it my turn to do the the slingshot engaged? Well, now it's time for Josh Allen to get one? And oh, by the way, Kansas City, isn't it nice for him to get one with not having to beat Patrick Mahomes? Because then you can still have that hanging over his head. You have still yet to beat Patrick in the playoffs. So all things considered, I'm rooting for Josh Allen. I'm rooting for the Bills. It also means they get to keep Sean McDermott another year. Hell yeah. Sign me up for that, to watch that thing slowly disintegrate. So yes, give me Buffalo. Give me Josh Allen with his castaway, injured array of weapons. It's fun. He's enjoyable to watch. Give me the Bills.
Now I can't stop thinking about Mike Concho and nothing wrong with Silver, I actually think there's a strong case that Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills winning the Super Bowl this year will be good for the historical legacy of the Kansas City Chiefs dynasty and Patrick Mahomes. It kind of gives Patrick Mahomes a Manning to his Brady. And I know a lot of people will point out, well, Michael Jordan never had a Peyton Manning. Well, it's a different sport. One player can have a lot more impact in the NBA, even over a quarterback. Also, it's kind of skewed because Michael Jordan disappeared for 2 years. And I tend to think Hakeem Olajuwon was getting one no matter what. You know what I mean? So it just kind of was convenient. But that's apples to oranges. I think the closest comp for the Mahomes trajectory is Tom Brady. And Tom Brady benefited from Peyton Manning being viewed as a peer or like almost a peer. So I just think Josh is a good dude. I think the Buffalo Bills and their fans, Bills Mafia, I've had, if you're going off of Twitter or Facebook and you're looking at the worst apples, you're going to have a bad view of any fan base. But I judge by what I have experienced at Arrowhead. And I have found Bills Mafia to be pretty damn pleasant during this rivalry at the games I've been and when I've encountered their fan base. And I can't say that about all fan bases. I can't say that about the Eagles over the years, for example. I know you have a soft spot for Philadelphia, but their fans are what their fans are. And I think they take pride in that, don't they?
It's funny. They loved Kansas City and the Chiefs until the Chiefs started winning. When I lived there, the Chiefs had done nothing. I was living there, and it was
famous Chiefs bar, right? I forget what that bar is called.
Big Charlie's Saloon. It's closed now. Big Charlie's, great spot. No, I remember wearing my Priest Holmes jersey around and everyone at an Eagles tailgate, and everyone loved it. And they're like, "Oh, thanks for taking care of Andy and all this stuff." They loved the Chiefs up until about 2019. I mean, they really did, because the Eagles won the Super Bowl. That was the year. I remember Nick Foles and the comeback, and I rioted. I celebrated downtown and was crushing beers on City Hall. Yeah, that happened. I wasn't climbing poles and being a complete dumbass. But yeah, the point still remains. Eagles fans in Philly loved KC. They loved the Chiefs up until the Chiefs became a dynasty and then kicked their ass that first Super Bowl. And then things changed. But yes, you're right. That has become a legit rivalry, which is fun. But yeah, give me the Bills, and I think you're astute in your observation of, Peyton Manning had to at least get one Super Bowl, and Tom Brady almost had to not let him, but it helped him that Manning got at least one to help the legacy, or else you start talking about that era of, well, yeah, it was just Brady, and then maybe it was Drew Brees in the NFC, or it's just Aaron Rodgers who also just got one. Like, you almost not let them win, but again, this is a good time. This is good because you're not beating the Chiefs in the playoffs. So that's where I'm at. And again, by the way, humble, not brag, but just if you want to listen to the interview I did with Josh Allen, you can check it out on, I believe, Stacking the Box. I think it's on that site that's part of FanSided. I had a really fun interview with Josh Allen earlier in the year. It was right before the season started, I believe. And it was just a blast. So if you want to see me going behind enemy lines and maybe why I have an affinity for Josh, check the interview out. It is really, really fun.
And we're going to have more about Josh Allen and the Broncos game to come. But first, a little bit of business, and that's our friends, our partners over at Underdog. Football playoffs are here, and Underdog is the best place to get in on all the gridiron action. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick if your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, rushing yards, receptions, and more. Get them right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. This week on Underdog, I'm looking at, like I said, Bills and Broncos. As a Chiefs fan, I think that's the most interesting game to us. I'm selecting Josh Allen for higher than one rushing or receiving touchdown. I don't think he's going to score a receiving touchdown, but I do expect the tush push, while it's still legal, to get him a touchdown. And then I'm looking at, on the other side of the ball, Nick Benito, a fierce pass rusher. Boy, I'd like to have someone with his speed rushing ability in Kansas City higher than one sack. With Underdog Unwrapped, you'll unwrap tons of promos all throughout the holidays. We've got boosts, gimme picks, deal reveals, and even some surprises sprinkled in. Now is the best time to get in the game. So what are you waiting for? Download the app today and use promo code Arrowhead Addict to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code Arrowhead Addict. Underdog, make picks, win money. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado, for some games 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Consider your play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. I'm trying to keep up with you, brother. Doing the best I can. I feel like Juju Smith-Schuster trying to run with Tyreek Hill or something. So there we go. With the Chiefs missing the playoffs, we are kind of in no man's land. I think it's a little too late for a post-mortem and a little early for a full-blown offseason primer. So we're going to dive into a free-flowing, rapid-fire conversation about many relevant topics. I'm calling this something we've called in the past, Chiefs Smorgasbord, draft, playoff, and NFL musings. So I'm just going to throw out a topic in the form of a question. We're just going to riff on it a little bit and move through these fairly quickly. And let's start with, because I think there's a little bit of delusional thinking out there about the trade value here. How much could the Chiefs reasonably get in a deal for Trent McDuffie? What do you think, Sterling?
I think one first. I think that's the reasonable rate, because Sauce Gardner got two, and they got one for the player and one for the contract that was already signed and a lot of the upfront cost eaten by the Jets. So one of the first rounders was legit just because of the signing bonus that the Jets already paid for. Well, McDuffie's not under contract, and so that means none of the signing bonus of the extension will be paid for by Kansas City. So I don't see Clark Hunt signing and then trading him, basically buying a first-round draft pick, if you will. That doesn't seem to be in the cards. So then you look at the player themselves. Sauce Gardner might have a slightly better reputation than Trent McDuffie, but I think you still could get close to a first. Maybe it's a second and a fourth. But I still think you could probably get a first for Trent McDuffie. I think there's enough teams out there that know his value, whether it's slot or outside, that would make that move. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's where I have his value pegged, is basically exactly one first rounder.
You have some fans that think, and some analysts that think, the Chiefs could get more than a first. Guys, with the contractual situation, I just don't see it. First of all, I think draft stock tends to travel with players. So people see Sauce Gardner as a top 5 pick still, and Trent McDuffie as a late first round pick. I'm not saying that's fair or accurate or whatever, but I think it is a factor. Also, the mold of player they are, and some of this is just Sauce Gardner's, for a corner, he's tall and long, and I think people see a little Deion Sanders, or they think about these like press outside corners, shutdown corners, Darrelle Revis. People don't see that guy when they look at Trent McDuffie. They see the best slot corner in the NFL. They see a very good outside corner, but they don't see Revis Island or whatever. So I think they can get a first. Maybe they have to throw in a fifth or a fourth or something to get that first, depending on how high it is. But I think they probably could. It's going to be really interesting with this secondary, because Trent McDuffie, the other guys in his draft class, Stingley and Sauce Gardner, already got their deals. First of all, that's a little telling that they got their deals last offseason and he didn't. But he's going to want a deal. And also, Brian Cook and Jalen Watson are two of the most coveted secondary free agents on the board this offseason. So I don't think there's any way all three of them come back to Kansas City. I think they can get creative and find a way to keep two, but keeping all three, I don't think is in the cards. It will be interesting to see who's back. I kind of don't even know who to bet on out of those three.
I think the best bet is Jalen Watson.
Okay.
Being back. I think of the three.
They're going to tag him, you think? Or
I got to look at, I don't have that pulled up in front of me. I'm sorry. The salary cap for the franchise tag doesn't matter. I think only one's coming back. I think McDuffie prices himself out and has the most value. I think Brian Cook just straight up prices himself out, which then leaves Jalen Watson. I don't think you can lose all three in one offseason. He'll be probably around the Brian Cook-ish market, but I think he's the guy the Chiefs keep. I think for a multitude of reasons, his trade value is not nearly as high as McDuffie. I don't think so. I think it's Watson.
Yeah, I don't think my dog's very happy about this. She started acting up as soon as I asked this question. But yeah, it's tough. We're probably only going to keep one of these guys. Maybe we can stretch to two. But I think the thing about Trent McDuffie versus Jalen Watson is Trent McDuffie is going to be of equal value to almost any team in the NFL. Jalen Watson, I think, is uniquely valuable to Spags as a big press corner who knows the system. I just don't think other teams are going to covet him as much as the Chiefs. So I think he's going to be a more reasonable player to bring back. I think the Chiefs have been good at finding safeties. There's a safety we'll talk about later in the show. So Brian Cook, they're probably going to be priced out there is my early sense, but more on that to come. Let's move on. This news kind of just breaking, and at first it may be like, well, how does this affect the Chiefs? It does. Oregon quarterback Dante Moore goes back to school. So he was probably going to be the number 2 pick, but he decided, I think it sounds like he didn't want to play for the Jets. And who can blame a fella for not wanting to play for the Jets? If you look at their history with Zach Wilson and Sam Darnold and Geno Smith, who would want to go with that ownership, with that track record? Who would want to go there? So this is bad luck for the Chiefs because that was going to allow another player to fall to number 9. So not the hugest deal in the world, but it could prevent the Chiefs from getting their ideal guy at number 9.
Yeah, it sucks. It really is a bummer. I'm shocked because they went out and got Dylan Raiola. And so I thought today's presser was just going to be Dante Moore thanking all the fans and all that and saying, hey, appreciate it, but my time has come. I'm excited to put my name in the NFL draft. I wonder what Oregon does. I wonder if Oregon just assumed he was gone, got Raiola, and all of a sudden now they're like, bleep, now what do we do? Does Raiola transfer? So I have no idea. I have no idea how this is going to work. Is he going to sit behind Dante Moore like Dante Moore sat behind Gabriel? We'll see. Weird, but I also understand why he's doing it. Even if you're the number 2 draft pick, he is going to make an absurd amount of money at Oregon. And you also realize you've been to college, right? You know what's really fun? College. You know what, like the only thing that would make college more fun? Being a multi-millionaire in college. Those dollar bots and shots go a lot longer when you're in college. I'm not saying he's doing it for fun. I know a lot of these guys are ready to get their actual, professional career underway. But when you have the chance to make maybe even more money in 1 year, actually, I would say almost guaranteed to make more money in 1 year than in maybe 2 years on your rookie deal in the NFL. Well, why the hell would you leave? Make that money, then go. You're still going to be a top 5 draft pick if you go next year. So I don't blame Dante Moore. We're going to start seeing a lot more of this. I think mostly quarterbacks, probably more than anything else. But I don't blame them. Have fun, live it up, go for another ring, go for a chance to get a ring. And that money in the NFL will be waiting for you, barring, again, there's always the chance of a super severe injury. But hell, Michael Penix had multiple ACLs and all this stuff. He still got drafted. Josh Simmons had a patellar injury. He was a first-round draft pick. I don't know. I don't begrudge him doing this, but man, does this suck for KC.
You hit the nail on the head, man, because once upon a time, long, long ago, I was a football player in college. I was a medical redshirt at a Division II school called Emporia State, and reasonably broke college athlete. And even in that situation, you are extremely popular around campus. I can't imagine being Dante Moore at freaking Oregon with the new situation with money and all that. And now that you can make that money, why would you go be a New York Jet? Why would you do that to yourself? Additionally, we've seen with guys like Anthony Richardson, for example, and the guy out in San Francisco, I'm blanking on his name because he's been such a non-factor. He's
Trey Lance.
Trey Lance, exactly. He went to Dallas. I don't know where he's going to go now. But
Chargers. I believe he's the Chargers.
Reps matter. Why has Bo Nix been pretty good? Because he played a shit ton of football before he got to the NFL. He had a lot of reps. Reps matter. So I think him not rushing is smart, but it's bad for the Chiefs because say the Chiefs want Jordan Tyson and now he's going to go at 8 instead of 9 because the domino effect, it's not good. It's not the end of the world, but it might be another reason that the Chiefs need to move up a tiny bit and get their guy or move back if they don't get their guy. Next up, the Chiefs have not interviewed any offensive coordinator candidates yet. I'm like kind of flabbergasted by this. Is this simply a polite gesture to Matt Nagy or a sign that either Eric Bieniemy or Mike Kafka are coming back?
Yeah, I think it's a sign. I think it's a sign that either Mike Kafka, Bieniemy, or Joe Blameyer gets promoted. That's what it seems like to me. And I could be completely wrong, and maybe it's Cliff Kingsbury, who I talked about ad nauseum yesterday with Briscoe, how I consider Cliff in that category because he runs more RPOs than the Chiefs, and he runs out of shotgun more than the Chiefs. Yay, the two things we hate. Let's bring that guy in. That'll be fun. I would love, obviously, Nathan Shieldhouse. Well, he's getting now head coaching opportunities right now. You know, he was meeting with the Steelers. That was, I think, their first interview in person was going to be Nathan Shieldhouse. You know, Mike McDaniel, I think, gets other head coaching jobs, so I don't think him taking an OC spots is in the card. There's nine open head coaching vacancies right now. And outside of Harbaugh, there's going to be maybe Stefanski's a name that just keeps going. But like Mike McDaniel's going to be a hot name. Shieldhouse, the guys that I think we want to see be the OC in KC might just automatically skip that OC phase and become a head coach. So yes, to me, this is alarming. This to me screams Kafka, Bieniemy, more the promotion of Joe Blameyer. Not a huge fan.
The guy I kind of like, who's I would call a dark horse, but he's in Denver currently. He is the quarterback coach, and I think that the passing game coordinator. Davis Webb played quarterback in the NFL for a while. He was actually in a quarterback competition with Patrick Mahomes once upon a time at Texas Tech. So comes from the same tree. And he has been kind of billed as someone with, and people don't throw this around lightly, this comparison, a Sean McVay-like mind and memory and just kind of demeanor. And I think that's the kind of guy that could be groomed to be the next head coach. And also, you weaken your opponent. You weaken your greatest opponent. So I like that. I know he's very young. He's 30 years old, but this is the way the league is going. I mean, a lot of these guys, their head coaches and offensive coordinators are in their 30s. Teams are trying to get them on the cutting edge and give themselves room to have a long runway with these coaches. And sometimes they stick around. We saw Mike Tomlin just finished 19 years. Is that the right length in Pittsburgh? So we will see what happens there. I don't think it's a great sign, but also they're not firing Matt Nagy. So if they start interviewing before he has a new job, that might not make Matt Nagy look very good. I'm just throwing that out there. He's under
contract.
I know. I'm just throwing that out there that may be some of their thinking, but I also think it probably means that we're getting the band back together yet again, which is not really what we want when we want new thinking and change, but we might not get as much of it as we want. Let's look at Bills at Broncos. We touched on that on the top of the show. Is this Josh Allen's year, or can Denver win it all? And I hate to say this just because the Chiefs aren't in it. I feel like this is the weakest field of playoff teams that I can remember. So can Denver get it done, or is this Josh Allen's year?
Well, again, you know my thoughts. I think Josh Allen and the Bills, they at least get there. What is interesting is, as quote unquote weak as it is, I think it's just different. Like, yeah, I'm with you. If the Chiefs are in it, they would be heavy favorites if this was any other year, but they're not. Houston has the best defense we've seen since 2000 Ravens. I will stand on that. 85 Bears, cool. We don't have to have that conversation. That's the best defense we've seen since the 2000 Ravens. I believe that. The difference is CJ Stroud right now is not Trent Dilfer. CJ Stroud is making mistakes. That's the one thing you can't do. That's why actually the Steelers winning that game. I know how good the Texans defense is, but I think CJ Stroud's going to make too many mistakes. He did make too many mistakes, but it didn't matter. That defense is ridiculous. Denver, I still don't believe in Bo Nix, but that defense is really good. I just don't think that the Denver defense is even on the same stratosphere as Houston's. The Bills, to me, in New England, obviously, I think is really good. I think they're a year early. That win changed some things for me with them just dismantling the Chargers. I mean, they couldn't do anything, but the offensive line of the Chargers was beyond banged up. It comes down to, do the Bills, it's not even they have enough weapons. They don't. It's bad. But it's, can Josh Allen continue to win in spite of them? Can Josh Allen take that many hits and keep getting up? Because he just gets rocked every single game against good teams like Patrick, not the same, but like him. He puts the team on his back, and if he has to run for it, he is going to make sure he gets that first down. Well, he does. And then you see him grimace and get up, and all of these injuries, they're piling up, man. And there's still 3 more games if he wants to win a Super Bowl. That's a lot. Can his body hang on? I still go with Buffalo, but as weak, again, air quotes, as this playoff feels, I just think it's different. And quite frankly, it's a little fun that there's not a clear-cut favorite, because that means every team has a legit chance.
Dude, Josh Allen was so beat up after that game. I'm surprised he wasn't drinking tequila in the locker room with George Kittle. I don't know if you heard about that, but yeah. Poor George Kittle, man. We love tight ends in Kansas City, so a lot of affinity for that guy. I feel terrible. I just think Josh Allen is the guy in this field. If you put your team in a situation, as the Jags did, where it's your quarterback, Trevor Lawrence in this instance, versus Josh Allen, without Patrick Mahomes around, Josh Allen is going to win that duel most likely versus every other quarterback in the league. So if you let the Buffalo Bills hang around, I don't know. It probably isn't going to go well for you. So I have the Bills in the Super Bowl versus the Seahawks. I don't feel great about that pick. I could see it going a lot of different ways, but gun to head, that's who I'm picking. And I'm sorry, not sorry. I'm rooting for them to take down the Denver Broncos. I find the Buffalo Bills a lot more likable than Sean Payton and his crew. Let's go through these last 6 rapid fire style. Got about 10 minutes left here. Your preferred running back strategy. 3 options here. Premium free agent, premium draft pick, and we'll call that either pick 9 or pick 40, or Moneyball / several cheaper bites at the apple. Maybe they get Tyler Algier in free agency and then pick a guy at what is it, 74? Maybe that kind of, or in the 4th round. Which of those strategies do you prefer?
Probably, for sure, not number 2. I guess pick 40 I wouldn't hate, right? 9 I would despise. I'm sorry, Jeremiah Love stands. Everyone's like, well, what would you take Bijan Robinson? And I'm like, yeah, No bleep, but I don't think he's Bijan Robinson. What are we doing here? Yeah, if he's Barry Sanders, would you take him? Yeah, yes, I would take Barry Sanders at 9, but why are we talking about hypotheticals? Let's live in the real world here. I think he's really good. I don't think he's pick number 9 good. I guess for me, I would probably lean towards premium free agent. I think option 3 of like a 4th round running back in Algier isn't horrible, but I think Breece Hall, for example, I'll throw that name out, or ETN. Like one of those two guys, I'd be really intrigued by. And like, people are like, well, Sterling, didn't you not want them to trade? Yeah, I didn't want them to trade a 3rd rounder for Breece Hall to turn around and then pay him. Look how dumb that would have been. Yes, I didn't want that. I would just like to pay him 3 for 30. Come on down, Breece. Have some fun. ETN, what's that? 3 for 25. Come on down. Come on up, I guess. Have some fun. Kenneth Walker, I don't know. Kenneth Walker's intrigued. He's been injured a lot. He's not the guy. Like Seattle's like seemingly almost moving on from him is kind of maybe my feel, which that should tell you something. I don't know.
I love Kenneth Walker. I'll interject here because I think for Seattle, who wants to take as much pressure off of Sam Darnold and pound the rock, he's not really an ideal fit for them because he's a lot stylistically like Saquon Barkley. He's trying to hit a home run every time he touches the ball. And in an offense like Kansas City, where the threat of an explosive running play is almost more important than actually sustained running success, because really the function of the running game in Kansas City is the opposite of Sam Darnold. You want to make things easier for Patrick Mahomes because he's your offense. He is the guy that's going to get you there. In Seattle, they want to keep the ball out of Sam Darnold's hands. They want to make the offense an easy button for him so he doesn't have these back-breaking interceptions. I think a guy like Kenneth Walker would be perfect for Kansas City, but the health has to check out. And I would be worried about that. So, in fact, all 3 of these guys have had some substantial injury history. So Rick Burkholder and the training staff would have to thoroughly examine them. I think that would be my preferred path, but I think most likely is going to be 3. Moneyball, several cheaper bites at the apple. I think I could see them picking somebody at 74, and we should really learn names like Tyler Algier, Kenneth Gainwell, those types, because I just think the Chiefs are still the Chiefs when it comes to running back, and they're not going to go from the least allocation of resources in the league to the position to big spenders. I don't see it. I could be wrong. Veach overcorrects sometimes. I just don't think it's in their current DNA. This is a super quick one. AJ Brown might be out in Philly. Should the Chiefs be interested?
No. He's going to cost too much money for the headache. I don't think. I mean, Tyreek Hill was a headache, and they moved on. He's going to be around Tyreek Hill money, and he doesn't have the goodwill that was built up or the relationship. And he looked like he lost a step. I mean, we can be honest. AJ Brown's still a really good player. There's no denying that. And I'm not just trying to take the last game with the 2 drops and just like make that my entire conversation. But you can't complain all year long and then drop 2 balls in the biggest game of the year for your team and not have that be a like, sorry, no, I don't want to deal with it. I know it's not my decision, but I don't think Patrick wants to deal with that. I don't think Andy Reid wants to deal with that. And you don't want to pay $30 million for a guy who's going to be a locker room nuisance.
This is very tempting. He's still at 2.06 yards per route run. He's always been one of the league leaders. That's down a little bit this year, but I think my defense of AJ Brown would be that I think this guy has been a top 3 or 4 receiving talent in the National Football League for a long time. And he's been stuck in these offenses that do not want to throw the ball with limited quarterbacks. And he has been lifting the ceiling of these offenses for mediocre quarterbacks, mediocre to good quarterbacks, and the running game, and not really being rewarded for it with volume. And I think to be a great receiver, you have to believe that you're always open. You have to want the ball. You have to be a little bit of a diva. Almost all these guys are. I think money is the problem, but I imagine AJ Brown in a world where he's playing the Rashee Rice slot role, and if he stays healthy, that dude's putting up 1,800 yards in Kansas City. And you wonder if there's a situation just getting loose and fast with things if you trade a problem for a problem, like Rashee Rice and a third or fourth rounder for AJ Brown. Like, can we help each other out and eliminate some headaches for each other? Old friends, Howie and Brett coming together. I don't think it's going to happen, but it is fun to talk about. And I do think he is out in Philadelphia. Wise or foolish for the Chiefs to pick Ohio State safety Caleb Downs, 9th overall? PFF has him as their number 1 prospect, but the Chiefs are so good at developing young secondary players. It's a real conundrum.
I wouldn't hate it at 9. Caleb Downs, right? I wouldn't hate it. It would be confusing because you're right. The Chiefs can develop safety so well and all those things, but he does feel like, I don't want to use this name lightly, but a little Eric Berry, right? Like it feels a little Eric Berry-ish, not quite to that level. Because Eric Berry was somewhat one of one, but that's a little bit of what this guy is. And that value might be too much to pass up. I actually think he'll be gone before 9. I don't think he's going to be there. I think some team's going to take him beforehand. But
you never know, though, because Kyle Hamilton might be the most valuable non-pass rushing defender in the NFL right now, and he lasted longer than he should have, definitely.
Yeah, and he's a safety, so and maybe that's the best comp is Kyle Hamilton. That might be the one. Yeah, I wouldn't hate it. I could see why fans would be upset. Like I could understand the sentiment, but I think if you told me, Downs or Jeremiah Love, I would take Downs in a heartbeat. I wouldn't even think twice.
I'm with you, man. I hate to throw around these names, but you get a top 10 safety, these guys like Ed Reed or Earl Thomas or Barry or I don't know. They almost never let you down. So it is very tempting. With some creative cap gymnastics, could the Chiefs afford to chase a second-tier free agent like Odafe Owe or Boye Mafe? I don't think Trey Hendrickson is affordable, but given how poorly they've drafted defensive line under Veach, who's done some other things very well, is this a safer route?
Yeah, I think Boye Mafe is probably the name to keep an eye on. That's probably the name. He's been fine. Like again, you're right. It's not going to be Trey Hendrickson. It's not going to be some stud, some star. But honestly, they're going to be below George Karlaftis. Like you might look at sack numbers, they might be a little higher, but as far as actual just production and what Karlaftis brings, they're going to be a little lower than that tier. That's my personal opinion. That's not a bad thing, but you get another DN2. Well, that makes a huge difference compared to what the Chiefs got last year. Charles Omenihu who's for some reason still like talking on Twitter and which is obnoxious. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Do you not realize the year that you guys just had? It's mind blowing. Those last 2 games were not you the whole year. Weird, very weird. But even just a DN2 who's solid is such an upgrade. That's what the Chiefs need. So yeah, I think Boye Mafe is the guy to keep an eye out on.
Weren't they looking into him at the trade deadline?
Correct.
Okay. So I kind of like this. And I also think people will say, well, the Chiefs cap situation's not good. The Chiefs have some of the lowest amount of dead money in the league. They're using, I think only one team uses less void years than the Chiefs do in terms of void year dollars. So the Chiefs have been kind of saving up for this moment to push things forward on the cap. I think there's a lot they can do before they even approach remotely being in danger of going too far in terms of getting aggressive with the cap, if that makes sense. I mean, even if they do quite a bit, they're not going to be anywhere close to the Cleveland Browns or the Philadelphia Eagles. So I would look for them to do some of that. Hopefully, maybe that's wishful thinking. But this just seems safer. Of course, maybe there's a guy they're in love with in the top 10 and they think they can get him. And if that's the case, by all means, do it. But this seems a little safer. Should we be worried about the Raiders getting Fernando Mendoza?
Slightly.
Yeah.
I think there's so many holes on the Raiders that it's not just Mendoza gets there and everything's fixed. I mean, there's so many holes in Vegas that they need fixed. Because I thought that they got Pete Carroll and Geno Smith and things were going to be solid. Not great, but like solid. That didn't happen. I think it just showed you how much work is really left for that team and that roster. That's I think what I learned about the Raiders this year was even getting, he was horrible, Geno Smith, but like some sort of adult in the room. Like, I don't think Geno Smith is worse than Davis Mills, who went 3-0 with the Texans. Like, I don't think Geno Smith was the worst quarterback in the NFL this year. I know he played horrible, but I think it's a multitude of circumstances that went into him playing this bad, right? So I don't think they just get Mendoza and the Raiders become great, but I do think Mendoza is the best quarterback in the draft. I think that he will eventually be good. Maybe he's their Derek Carr. We'll find out, but I don't think it's going to be a 1-year switch for Mendoza and the Raiders.
No, but he has Brock Bowers. He has Ashton Genty. If they build that lineup a little bit in the rest of the draft, it could be a really good situation. And I think that because of that nucleus, they're going to be able to attract a young, exciting offensive mind to Las Vegas, especially with Tom Brady as part of that brain trust. So I'm a little bit worried because I look at Justin Herbert, who I think stock down after this recent playoff. I don't want to know if I call it a meltdown or just a letdown, but still borderline franchise quarterback. Bo Nix is looking like the guy in Denver. And then if the Raiders get their guy, you have a division where all the teams have a quarterback they feel good about. That's not where we were at the start of the Mahomes era. So it does make things more difficult, as we saw this past season for the Chiefs. But also, the Raiders are still kind of a cash-poor organization. They have not been well run. So this is the show me state, baby. I need to see it to believe it. One last thing here. Do you have an early preference out of the receivers who could be there at 9? Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson, and Mekhi Lemon, because I'm kind of softening on Carnell Tate. I know everyone wants the big X receiver. Is that still a prototype to chase? And I'm a little worried about him being man. And I think the Chiefs need a wide receiver that can get open against man coverage and press coverage, because that guy's not currently on the roster.
Yeah, I get the point, and I also understand him not looking great necessarily in the playoffs, but point remains, Ohio State wide receivers have been safe as hell. Like, that's been like the safest draft pick is Ohio State wide receivers.
What about Marv, though? He's giving me Marvin Harrison Jr. vibes a little bit.
Yeah, but Marvin Harrison Jr., he's shown some glimpses of bleep that he looks like a dude. I get the point. I think part of that was the last name, though. If we're being honest, if Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. just switched, Malik Neighbors would have gone before him. I believe that. I think that the last name did that final heavy lifting for Marvin Harrison, who, again, I think is going to be a fine wide receiver in the NFL. I would have to do a little more, but as we sit on day of record, it's still leaning Carnell Tate out of the 3.
I feel like the analog here is Jordan Tyson is my Malik Neighbors, who I like better than Harrison, and Carnell Tate is the Harrison. And I like Mekhi Lemon, and I'm very excited to talk wide receiver all the way leading up to the draft. But that's all we've got for you guys today. If you dig Arrowhead Addict, here's how you can help our community grow. Subscribe here on YouTube, mash that like button. And if you're an audio listener on either Spotify or Apple, please consider leaving us a 5-star review. That really will help Sterling and myself out. Lastly, check out the mothership, arrowheadaddict.com. Matt Connor, Price Carter, the entire gang will be getting you ready for the draft, getting you ready for free agency. nonstop. Price Carter is doing something like 100 prospects in 100 days. Fantastic series. Definitely check that out. Join us live next Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central right here on the Arrowhead Addict channel. Until then, go Chiefs.